Welcome back to Global News, your go-to source for the biggest updates from the USA and across the globe. Today, we are counting down the most impactful news stories you need to know right now. Before we jump in, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss a world update. Let's get started with number 10. Today, first news, UK police arrest fourth suspect in Jewish ambulance arson case. British police have arrested a fourth individual in connection with the arson attack on Jewish community ambulances. The arrest occurred at a London court during the appearance of three other males already charged in the case. Hamza Iqbal, 20, Rehan Khan, 19 and a 17-year-old are accused of torching four solar emergency vehicles near a North London synagogue on March 23. While an Iran-aligned militant collective claimed responsibility, counter-terrorism officers are currently leading the investigation without treating it as terrorism. Prosecutors believe four people physically carried out the attack. The suspects face charges of arson with intent to damage property and being reckless toward life. All three initial defendants have been remanded in custody as the investigation continues. Next news, Russia and Ukraine exchanged deadly strikes during Zelensky's Turkey visit. Russia and Ukraine engaged in a series of lethal overnight strikes, resulting in at least 10 deaths and dozens of injuries. The escalation occurred as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Istanbul for high-level diplomatic talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Ukrainian officials reported intercepting 260 out of 286 Russian drones, though attacks in Nikopol and Sumy caused significant civilian casualties and infrastructure damage. Simultaneously, the Russian Defense Ministry claimed its long-range precision weapons targeted Ukrainian military-industrial facilities. In Russian-occupied Luhansk, officials reported a family of three was killed by Ukrainian shelling. In Alchevsk, drone strikes disrupted a metallurgical plant supplying the Russian military. Russia also reported shooting down 85 Ukrainian drones across several regions, including Crimea and Rostov. Next news, Petroleum Ministry denies crude cargo diversion to China over payments. The Petroleum Ministry on Saturday refuted reports alleging an Iranian crude cargo destined for India was diverted to China due to payment issues. Officials clarified that India faces no hurdles in securing oil imports, noting that bills of lading often list indicative ports and destinations can change mid-voyage for trade optimization. The ministry labeled these claims factually incorrect, emphasizing that Indian refiners maintain full flexibility to source crude from over 40 countries based on commercial considerations. Addressing separate rumors regarding LPG supplies, the ministry confirmed that the vessel Seabird, carrying 44,000 metric tons of Iranian LPG, berthed at Mangalore on April 2. Furthermore, the Indian-flagged carrier Green Sanvi safely transited the Strait of Hormuz amid ongoing regional tensions. Efforts continue to ensure secure maritime passage for Indian vessels through the strategic waterway to stabilize global fuel supplies. Next news, Sindh protests erupt following massive surge in fuel prices. Nationalist leaders in Sindh have launched a province-wide protest campaign following a dramatic spike in fuel prices, which have nearly doubled due to the ongoing regional conflict. Sindh United Party President Syed Zain Shah urged citizens to take to the streets, demanding an immediate rollback of the price hikes to prevent economic destruction. Shah called on the federal government to eliminate all taxes and levies on petroleum products, asserting that ordinary people cannot bear the burden of these sudden increases. The Qawmi Awami Tehreek has announced 5 days of demonstrations against soaring inflation and the removal of subsidies. Leaders criticized the government's economic policies, alleging they are driven by international pressure and corrupt interests. As costs for basic necessities rise, political chairmen warned that the public has reached a tipping point, with many households now struggling to afford daily meals. Pressure continues to mount on the administration to stabilize the energy market. Next news, Jaishankar thanks Armenia for evacuating Indian fishermen from Iran. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar expressed gratitude to his Armenian counterpart Ararat Mirzoyan for facilitating the safe evacuation of Indian fishermen from Iran. The operation, conducted via Armenia, comes as the West Asia conflict continues to disrupt regional stability. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, over 1,200 Indian nationals have been successfully evacuated from Iran so far, with 996 individuals moved through Armenia and 204 through Azerbaijan. Spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal confirmed that the group includes approximately 845 students. The government is closely coordinating with local authorities and Indian missions to ensure a smooth transit back to India. Meanwhile, over 600,000 passengers have returned from the Gulf region since late February. While regional airspace remains affected, limited non-scheduled flights continue to operate between the UAE and India to assist those seeking to return home. Next news. Storm Dave brings amber warnings and snow ahead of spring surge. The Met Office has issued amber weather warnings as Storm Dave batters the UK with heavy snow and gale force winds this Saturday. Forecasters warn of significant travel and power disruptions, with up to 30 centimetres of snow expected across the Scottish Highlands. The amber alert for wind, covering parts of northern England, North Wales and Scotland, cautions that flying debris could pose a danger to life through Sunday morning. Despite the harsh Easter weekend conditions, a dramatic shift is expected next week. Meteorologist Greg Dewhurst noted that warmer air from the continent will push temperatures into the low 20s by Tuesday. By Wednesday, parts of England and Wales could see highs reaching 24 degrees Celsius, marking a sharp transition from blizzards to unseasonable spring warmth. Next news. Light aircraft crashes into Brazilian restaurant, killing 4 people were killed Saturday morning after a light aircraft crashed into a restaurant in the southern Brazilian state of Rio Grande do Sul. The Piper Malibu aircraft, which had traveled from Sao Paulo, reportedly struck a pole near the runway at Capão da Canoa Airport before slamming into the building and bursting into flames. Firefighters confirmed that the victims included the pilot and 3 passengers, among them a couple traveling on board. The crash occurred in a residential area, sending thick black smoke over the neighborhood and prompting the immediate evacuation of nearby residents. While the restaurant and a neighboring shop sustained significant damage, local officials reported no injuries on the ground. State Governor Eduardo Leite confirmed that security forces were fully mobilized to secure the site. This tragedy follows a similar light aircraft accident in Mexico just a day prior. Next news. Iran warns UAE of direct retaliation amid escalating regional tensions. Tensions in the Middle East have entered a volatile phase as Iran shifts its strategic rhetoric, specifically naming the United Arab Emirates as a potential primary target. Tehran issued a stern warning that any ground invasion or attempt to seize Iranian-controlled islands will trigger a severe, non-symbolic response against the host nation of such attacks. This marks a significant escalation, as Iran previously avoided direct threats toward its Gulf neighbors. Tehran suspects the UAE of providing military bases and air facilities to support US and Israeli operations. Iranian officials indicated that retaliation could extend beyond military installations to include economic infrastructure and government institutions. With the US reportedly increasing its military presence near the strategic Strait of Hormuz, the risk of a broader regional conflict grows, threatening global trade and energy stability. Next news. US expert warns of Iranian underwater threats in Strait of Hormuz. Former US combat pilot Ryan Bodenheimer has cautioned against underestimating Iran's military capabilities, particularly its advanced unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs. Speaking to ANI, Bodenheimer highlighted the challenge of detecting these subsurface drones, which threaten global oil tankers despite aerial superiority. He noted that defense firms like Lockheed Martin are developing counter-technologies, such as the Lamprey, to intercept Iranian UUVs on the ocean floor. While Bodenheimer expressed confidence in US military strength, he suggested a strategic preparation of the battlefield, lasting several weeks to minimize risks to American personnel. This follows President Donald Trump's recent assertions that the US could reopen the blockaded strait with a little more time. Meanwhile, Iranian officials have hinted at expanding their maritime pressure to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, further threatening international trade routes for oil and essential commodities. Next news. 4th arrest made in London Jewish ambulance arson case. A 4th suspect was arrested Saturday morning at Westminster Magistrates Court in connection with the arson attack on 4 Jewish community ambulances in North London. The arrest occurred as 3 other individuals, Hamza Iqbal, 20, Rehan Khan, 19, and a 17-year-old, appeared for their initial hearing. All 3 have been remanded in custody, charged with arson being reckless as to whether life would be endangered. The incident, which took place on March 23 in Golders Green, targeted the volunteer-led Hatzolah emergency service. The fire caused gas canisters within the vehicles to explode, though no injuries were reported. While counter-terrorism policing is leading the investigation due to the nature of the attack, officials stated the case is not currently being treated as terrorism. 2 additional men previously arrested remain on bail until late April.